Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, welcome. I am Kevin Carter, President and CEO of the Amarillo Economic Development Corporation. Welcome to Amarillo. I especially want to welcome our elected officials, and so I'm going to run through this. It's a lengthy list, which is very exciting. From Senator Cornyn's office, Joel Rydell. From Senator Cruz's office, Bobby Hanson. I see Representative For Price in the room, so thank you, for being here. We have council members Frida Powell, Cole Stanley, Howard Smith, and Eddie Sauer. We have Potter County Commissioners Alfonso Vaughn, John Coffey, Robert Ruiz, and then also from Randall County we have Rusty Carnes. I also want to have a big shout out to Chandra Eggemeyer from the Office of the Governor, and also Carol Falkenberry from the Texas Department of Ag. Thank you for being here. I also want to welcome our friends in the media. Thank you for being here today. What a historic day in Amarillo history. In my notes, it says to tell you who CVMR is. CVMR is for Chemical Vapor Metal Refining. Those of you who know me well know that the first word is chemical, and that's way over my head. So I'm going to let Cameron tell you about CVMR and their process later. I just want to talk about the economic impact of CVMR and what it's going to do for Amarillo. 1,000 jobs in phase one and a $1.5 billion capital expenditure with $600 million in economic activity every year and plans for growth. So what a historic day for Amarillo, and I'm super excited about being here. And so with that, I am going to welcome Potter County Judge Nancy Tanner.
Well, hello everybody. I didn't know I was going to be first. I would have been more prepared, but whatever. Thank you for being here. This is an exciting day for Amarillo and Potter County. I grew up here a long time ago when I was born. Never dreamed I'd be standing here today. So thank you for coming. We appreciate every one of you. I was going to say I'm glad that you mentioned what that stands for, CVMR. I would like to buy a vowel, please, if I could. But we're happy to have you, and the two favorite words in my vocabulary are tax abatement, because I know at the end of it, a chunk of change is going to come my way. So thank you very much for picking us. I know you're going to love it here. Amarillo is the best hometown in the whole state of Texas. So thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Thanks for coming. Thank you very much.
At this time, I want to welcome Amarillo Mayor Ginger Nelson. Mayor.
It is so exciting to see a room full of people who are celebrating this opportunity for us. So to the CVMR team, I want to say thank you and welcome to Amarillo. Now, if you didn't already know that you made the right choice, you surely knew it when the weather yesterday, I think 63 when we got up, it's almost July, right? And I just checked, I think we're sitting at 78 degrees, late afternoon, end of June. That's a pretty good choice. So I can't guarantee that weather for you every day, but it is a nice affirmation for our groundbreaking event today. And let me just say, thank you for choosing inside. I know that we've all, shoe selection is a really important thing. And so sometimes I find myself as the mayor a little shoe choice challenged at a groundbreaking ceremony. So thank you guys very much for this lovely setting to do a groundbreaking announcement in. But we are very, very excited about what this opportunity is. And you can tell by the room and the turnout from the leaders of the community, this is impactful for us. And we recognize the impact that this has not just for our city, for our counties, for the Panhandle region, for the state of Texas, but also for the nation. And this is a big opportunity. And you guys are taking a risk on us. And we want to tell you that we're a good risk and we're going to support you as we do every business in our city. We want to set you up for success. So with the work ethic that we have here in our workforce and the culture and the quality of life that we have in the nice sized city that we are at 200,000 population, I think your workers are going to be very happy here and your business is going to succeed here. So thank you for seeing that this is a unique season of opportunity for Amarillo. We are in a unique season of growth, and you are now part of our story. And you're diversifying us and actually moving us into new opportunities for research and development and just expanding Amarillo's name across the map, not just nationally, but actually globally with this project. So we're very, very excited for this opportunity and very honored that you chose Amarillo, and we want to do right by you. So thank you. Kevin, I'll hand it back to you.
Next, I would like to introduce Chris Wilmot. He is the president and CEO of WCW International. He's also chaired the Greater Houston Convention and Visitors Bureau. He's also been a board member of the Greater Houston Partnership, so he knows a lot about economic development. We met, the group of us from AEDC went up to Washington, D.C. for a congressional briefing a couple of weeks ago and got to meet Chris and enjoyed visiting with him. And he was talking about being from Houston. I said, well, we're going to make you an honorary Amarillo citizen. You've helped introduce this project to the world. So, you know, welcome to Amarillo. Finally glad that you're here. And so I'm going to introduce you, and he's going to introduce one of our distinguished guests today. And so, Chris.
Thank you, Kevin. It's always an honor to get to introduce to the Congresswoman. But you know, in protocol-wise, you know, we are here in the district of our Congressman, Ronnie Jackson. Now, in all fairness, we would like to rather let Congressman Jackson call her own colleague after he speaks to be the protocol for the for congressional leadership, and also for the protocol for us to be able to make sure that she welcomes Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and everybody who have come from all walks of life to his district. So, Congressman, with all due respect, will you please come and take the podium to let us know that we are in your district before I can honor our Congressman from Houston. Thank you.
Well, thank you for everyone for coming out today. This is just a real honor for me to be here today. It really is. And I do want to thank our Congresswoman, Mrs. Sheila Jackson Lee, for making the long journey from over East Texas out here to Amarillo. Very gracious of you to do that. It's not a short trip. We know how big this state is. And I just want to say it's a big honor for me to be here, quite honestly. You know, CVMR, I think, has found out what a lot of people figure out. They don't know this. You wouldn't know it right off the bat till you spend a little time here. But I think what they've discovered is that it's not, you know, it's not our mild summer temperatures. It's not the pine forest we have here or the big lakes that we have that draws people to this area. It's the people. And once you spend a little time here, you understand that the people in this particular part of Texas, people in Texas in general, but I would say growing up in this particular area, people in this area are just the most hospitable people that you could possibly find. They have an incredible work ethic, and they really take care of each other. So I'm going to say, I think that just like Mayor Nelson had said, you're going to be very happy with your choice of coming to Amarillo, because not only are you going to do great things for the city of Amarillo, but Amarillo is going to take care of you. I can promise you that, because I know the people here. So we're really pleased to have you here. Thank you. And I'll just say that, I think that, coming from a background of medicine and having spent a lot of time, studying chemistry and physics and things of that nature as I was preparing myself to go to med school, I can tell you I've looked into what the company does a little bit. It's fascinating. I mean, the science and the technology is incredible. I just couldn't stop reading about it. I thought it was really, really good. And I'll tell you, we have stuff all over the district here in particular, things that really make a name for Amarillo, that put Amarillo on the map, things that are synonymous with when you bring up Amarillo outside of the state of Texas, people automatically think of Pantex and Bell Helicopter and things of that nature. This is going to be exactly the same. This is going to be one of a kind. This is unique. This is cutting edge. It's going to be something that Amarillo is going to be known for from now on. And so we're really excited to have you here. And I'll tell you, it's great for this country too. We talked about this a little bit, but we have national security issues in this country right now that are a really big deal right now. We deal with a lot of supply chain issues, and a lot of it involves China and what's manufactured in China and only China, and doesn't come from other places around the world. This is going to really help us with some of that critical supply chain stuff that's going to be really important to us in the near future. And these are going to be the kinds of things that are going to matter to the entire country from a national security standpoint in the very near future. So I would just like to say thank you to CVMR for coming here, and thank you everyone for coming out and welcoming them today. I think this is the beginning of a great relationship. And with that, I want to take an opportunity to introduce Miss Sheila Jackson Lee, member of the Texas delegation. And she's been, like I said, it doesn't get any more bipartisan than this. I'll just tell you that, right? She and I share the name Jackson, but pretty on a political standpoint, that's about it. So to have her and I together welcoming you here in Amarillo is actually a pretty big deal. So I hope everybody understands that. But it just shows you what a great company this is. And I understand, ma'am, that you've been working on this for a while, long before I was in Congress. So thank you for all you've done for bringing something like this to our district. And with that, I just want to introduce Miss Sheila Jackson Lee, our Congresswoman from Texas.
Well, Congressman, it is so good to be an American because it is good for us to be united in our love and affection for this nation. And I'm delighted to be your colleague as we fight together to improve the lives and qualities of Americans as well as the great people of Amarillo. And you're absolutely right. It has been a welcoming from the moment I landed, friendly airport. And so it's a place that, however long a journey it is, I may come back again. Thank you. Would you give your congressman a very big hand, please? I will take a moment because this is such an important issue for me and this audience. I'm so enthralled with all of you who have come from all walks of life. It shows that we are going to start on a right foot. And I like the idea of a connectivity between a city way down, almost close to the Gulf region, Houston, Texas. We call it a Big H. And to be here with Amarillo and the friendly people, as Mayor Nelson has said, thank you so very much for the energy in which you have exercised this. And of course, the Mayor Pro Tem Powell, we are grateful. All of the council members that are here, commissioners and judge, right there in front. Thank you so very much for both the warm welcome and the humor. That's what we need in America, and that's what we need as fellow Texans. I've always said that Texas has a big heart. We have a big laugh, and that's what makes me love my state and love my fellow Texans. I'm always reminded of two politicians that coined the phrase, my fellow Texans. Of course, when President Lyndon Baines Johnson went to the presidency, he began saying my fellow Americans, but George W. Bush would say my fellow Texans, and when we would see each other in Washington, that's how we greeted each other. That's a good thing to do. Let me thank our commissioners that I met, and I'm looking for the tenured commissioner who's got 16 years. I'm just delighted for your service. If you would just give me a moment to be able to share some thoughts with you and also to, in fact, hopefully bring us together as we look at this. I do want to say something that Congressman Jackson, that we will be able to brag about, but you will probably stop me from bragging because it's your district, and that is Mayor Nelson, a lady, a wonderful person, the judge, a lady from Potter County, and another judge in Randall County, a lady. 3 women doing great things. I'm very proud of that. Hi, guys. There's a lot of guys in here. You need to applaud that, please. I have been interested in this for a very long time. We may overlap in some committees, but I have served on 9/11, since 9/11, the Homeland Security Committee. It's very close to me in terms of the national and domestic security of this nation. On the Budget Committee, we get to see how our dollars are being used, and it's a leadership appointment to ensure, yes, fiscal responsibility, but also that the people's money gets back out to the people. And that they're able to use it constructively. When I think of CVMR Texas, and that's a great thing because they've now adopted us, our state, as a place they want to grow their business. I think of it as a lifeline. I know many of you may not have been near the news today, but I'm very engaged in the Ukrainian war, having been there at the very beginning in Lithuania and then going back to Ukraine as the Russians were continuing to attack the outskirts of Kyiv. And so today, of course, they have bombed an apartment building in Kyiv. We thought that they would have stayed in the east, and they bombed just recently a shopping center. They have ramped up because they want attention. They want this to be an all-out war. They want to stop the supply system at all levels. And because the G7 is working and meeting, they want to draw people's attention that we're Russia. And so I think this is most importantly for you in Amarillo and those of us in Houston who have a role to be leading the nation out of a place of our dependence on foreign sources of refined critical earth elements. I hope that we are welcomed by the nation, for this is patriotic. These are important critical metals that we have had to stretch and call and depend on someone else, not only to produce them, but then for them to be transported. Many of you know that my district is part of the port representation. I'm very grateful to have a number of members who represent that, and we work closely together. And I've been working with the port for a very long time. Pandemic, of course, shut down the port, shut down the supply system. So this is very important for that reason. I want to thank Chris Wilmot for the idea of bringing all of us together and for his yeoman's task in making sure that CVMR is most welcomed in this state as well. Thank you, Kevin Carter, for your leadership of the Amarillo Economic Development Corporation. And many of you have come from many parts of this community. Let me thank you so very much for really being the kind of partners that really said yes. You said yes, you looked for the details, you're obviously going to represent your constituents well, but I heard that you were very welcoming. Your local community was very welcoming. And so I'm pleased to see Amarillo and Houston now, two distant cities from mileage-wise, but having a commonality of loving our people and wanting them to make sure things are going well. I began working on this a couple of years ago and called then Secretary of Energy Dan Boulet about securing a private-public partnership investment or loan to produce products for use in the defense, electronics, pharmaceutical, aerospace, and automotive industries. We were stuck then a couple of years ago, and we were looking for how should we get out of this. Since then, CVMR has continued to impress me with their deep knowledge of critical minerals and their patented process, which is really the key, that leaves no harm to the environment and most importantly to the people working within their plants at distribution centers. Your employees here in Amarillo that are going to grow and grow and grow are going to have a better quality of life because they're going to be working with a place that also produces, but also knows how to deal with the quality of life and the atmosphere for the employees. I was glad to work with the logistics. I think Congressman Jackson was able to be aware of the briefing that we had, the first one ever on the grounds of the United States Capitol, to talk about precious minerals, or the minerals, with, of course, the leadership of CVMR and many people who came to see it. So this partnership is important because it is an important aspect of national security. Let me extend a special thanks to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And I've seen the hills and valleys that the Congo has been in. Let me also acknowledge the Consul General for Cote d'Ivoire and indicate to you that I've enjoyed many times visiting your beautiful country. Thank you for your leadership here. The Congo I've visited as well, and I have seen some very dire conditions. My time in the Congo has been in the midst of civil war, when there was disaster and military trucks driving through cities that were just dead. Now this new president has recognized that he has something to offer the world. And because of the relationship with the United States and CVMR, they are willing to send their unrefined materials not to Europe, but right here to the United States, to the port of Houston, and then right here to Amarillo, where you will be part of the national security saving of this nation. And these difficulties that have plagued the Democratic Republic of the Congo, you will be part of maybe turning the corner in their lives and allowing democracy to rise with this president's desire to be part of the global world. And we'll establish a new global industry with the power to generate high-paying jobs. CVMR will follow a corporate structure that will help educate all of our workers and, frankly, will help inspire those individuals way far away from us in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I see these things, as I've said, on the committees that I serve on. The beauty of being in the United States Congress is that you can represent your constituents, but you have the ability to have an eye view of the nation and of the world. I enjoy serving people and reaching out to people who are different, who are in different regions, different countries. And as we do that, we become known as a welcoming nation, even as you may hear stark descriptions of America. I can assure you that when I've had the privilege of representing this country quite often around the world, there's a much different perspective when we're met by different countries from the Eastern blocs to Europe, to Asia, the Asian Pacific, to places like India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, to places on the continent of Africa, and yes, North America and South and Central America. They love America's gift of ingenuity, its people, beyond its policies. And yes, we might not think so, but they love the idea of democracy. As we begin to cement this work, we'll be working with other agencies in the Biden administration that are eager to be part of the success. And there will be other agencies that will have to deal with the financial aspects of it, as well as the permitting or the issue of the regulatory scheme that we have to address. And so we can not only produce for domestic consumption, but we'll also have the ability to export to allies. Won't they be happy not to be dependent on those who have not been our friends? Tragically, with the Ukraine war, as you know, the G7 is meeting, and the allies, thank goodness, are staying unified. But unfortunately, the dialogue that we've had with those who are not our friends, but yet we have dialogues that's probably on hold for a while. I want it to be back again, but our allies certainly need opportunities for the necessities of life, and these precious minerals, that will involve the batteries, electric vehicles, other technological entities are going to be the lifeline of our survival. We want to see the end to the Ukraine war. It is dividing the world. It is killing children. It is destroying a beautiful nation. But as this war continues, we need to be prepared in our own national security. You may not know it, but I proclaim you today a key element in the victory for the allies in the Ukraine war. We've all gone through the pandemic. It was a tough, tough time. It was baffling because most of us were not alive in 1918. But we are grateful to say that the pandemic was something we did not know about, But thank goodness, again, with the genius of Americans, the scientists, leadership brought us to a point, and bipartisan, that we've been able to come through it and be prepared for whatever else helps. Again, as I said, cell phones and other aspects that we use every day are clearly a part of this effort. And so let me congratulate you and congratulate CVMR. Most people don't know it's not new on the block. It's founded in 1986 and is a world leader in metal power production. And so here they are using that framework to do what we're doing today, and capable of mining and metal refining for so many. This rare earth critical mineral elements of what we're trying to do will be unique, and you'll be on the map even more than Amarillo is, because you are on the map. And I'll be grateful to the fact that my good colleague, Congressman Dr. Jackson, who probably loves his name as much as I love mine, we have opened the doors of partnership, me here in Amarillo, and certainly welcomed, as I know he has been sometime in Houston. And because of that, this is exerting the true values of this nation, that we may be separated by the boundaries of states and cities, but when it comes to the greatness and the solutions to problems, we work together as Americans. Here we are today, just another piece of America working together. And I say to those who are on faraway places wearing the uniform, I know that when they leave this country with battle uniforms on, they leave it willingly because of the values of this nation on democracy and equality, and yes, an American nation that stands for all of us. I'm really pleased to be here and to congratulate all of you and to say to Amarillo, God bless you, God bless Texas, and God bless the United States of America. So if Congressman Jackson would come and stand on the other side of our CEO, chairman, and green light for CVMR. Texas now, he's done that. You need to know it. There's Texas behind the name. And so I will not read it in its entirety, but both the congressman and myself are allowed to produce resolutions of congressional recognition. And I wanted to make sure that we honored you today by recounting the history of your great company and indicating about the facilities in Amarillo. So I am sharing with the Appreciation Mayor of Amarillo, and I am also saying, whereas critical mineral ores from CVMR's global mining operations will be shipped into the Port of Houston and then used on a railway system located in the 18th Congressional District, and then the logistics that will be handled by the railroad of transporting them to CVMR Texas Refinery in Amarillo, Texas. And that is a great day. It concludes by saying, now therefore it be resolved on behalf of all of us, on the occasion of your groundbreaking, you are deserving of the utmost esteem for your contributions and are deserving of the respect, admiration, commendation of the United States Congress. I am delighted to present this to you from the both of us. And the mayor and judge, if you would come up. I don't know which way we're looking. There you are. Let Amarillo be the strongest group that is here.
Take 2 steps to the
Yes.
right. Can we?
Mayor,
that's
you are
better.
absolutely
There we go.
right.
Thank you.
Just waiting
Thank
for
you.
leadership to come and tell us. Then we should know where else we're looking.
Well done.
Thank you. No. No, this is yours.
You know, I used to run the Greater Houston Partnership, World Trade. He said I was the director. I was the chairman of the World Trade Board. I ran a 450 billion economy in Houston, which we had the Port of Houston as part of our game. So when we bring the congresswoman from Houston connecting to Amarillo, I'm giving you a strategic partnership between Houston and Amarillo. And mayor and judge and congressman who happens to be the only doctor who can take care of Obama and Trump, you know that he's a strong doctor. And we need to give doctor a big hand. What folks don't understand and don't know, I have known the congresswoman for over 25 years. The congresswoman has been the voice of reason in Washington. Apart from being everything, she is one of the 10 most powerful Congress elected person in Washington. Congressman Tom DeLay used to be the majority leader, was my good friend. But he could not believe that we can go to the White House to meet President Bush, and guess who I am with from the Greater Houston Partnership was the Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. So she worked on both aisles. Whether it's a Republican or Democratic administration, she is someone strategically who focuses to make a change for our nation, especially when it comes to national security. The reason that I am talking about this strategic partnership is because we believe Texans have to be the one to lead in a strategic relationship like that of CVMR. CVMR, because of its strategic position globally, is now being sorted by countries. And apart from Congo, which is now strategically trying to attract CVMR so seriously that they always calling me, even as of last night. The president want to know when will CVMR get to Congo before the Chinese put a hammer on his head. I told them, you know what? They are in Texas and they have to find a way to take care of business in Texas before they come to Congo. Because without taking care of this relationship on the soil of the state of Texas, we can't come to Congo. So please, give them a little breathing room, and tomorrow you will hear from Cameron to come and tell you what they're going to do in the city of Kinshasa in the country of Congo. So Cameron, you are now being sorted out globally. Now, before we do that, let me call our Honorable General Counsel from Cote d'Ivoire to come and give you the piece that Cote d'Ivoire also wants to now get into the equation of granting you some type of rights of minerals from Cote d'Ivoire into the same facility of refining that we're looking at. So if the Chinese don't come and steal your strategic patents, which they have been trying and they can't get it, and Chip has been so protective of these patents. Every time Chinese push in the air, he push on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome the Honorable Dr. Indri, Honorary Counsel for the State of Texas for Cote d'Ivoire. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. As you said, my name is Dr. Andre Hyacinth, Consul General for Cote d'Ivoire in Texas. Honorable Congressman Ronnie Jackson, Honorable Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Judge Nancy Tanner, Honorable Ginger Nelson, Mayor of the City of Amarillo, dear City Council members, dear members of the Amarillo Economic Development Corporation, dear Cameron Kozan, the masterpiece of all this, honorable guests, on behalf of myself and His Excellency Ibrahima Touré, Ambassador of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire in the United States of America, I would like to address to you our warmest consideration. First of all, allow me to extend to you his sincere apologies for not being able to make it to this event today because of a schedule conflict at the very last minute. However, he made sure that I reiterate his total support to this initiative. We do believe that this gathering clearly highlights how important securing sustainable supply chain of critical minerals is important to the United States. Since becoming independent in 1960, Cote d'Ivoire has built a reputation of an agriculture-based economy, which until now has been the main driver for its economic prosperity and growth. The back end of this agriculture-based economy is that it is highly subject to the market fluctuation. Therefore, we have come up with a different game plan. We want to diversify our source of revenues. So, since the 19th, Cote d'Ivoire has been operating a paradigm shift to not only diversifying its source of income, but also creating opportunity for foreign investment in agro-processing, infrastructure, digital economy, and mining. This paradigm shift puts an emphasis on creating an enabling environment for local processing in order to create added value, jobs for women and youth, and sustainable inclusive growth. Recent studies conducted by the government and some major companies have proved that Cote d'Ivoire has a very important mineral reserve of gold, oil, but also nickel, cobalt, tantalite, bauxite, rare earth mineral, and etc. And that's the reason why we are connecting with CVMR to come to the country and do what they do best. Like the United States, we have faith in the virtue of economic liberalism, and as such, the government is endeavoring to improve the business, legal, and institutional environment in every economic sector, including the mining sector, for a business and private investment-friendly economic environment. Cote d'Ivoire has one of the most attractive mining codes that reflect its potential and its willingness to become one of the places to be when it comes to mining in Africa. We nourished the ambition to be a key player in the mining economy in Africa. 77% of the investment opportunities in National Development Plan from 21 to 26 will be financed by the private sector, and we believe that U.S. investors can have their share of many business opportunities, especially in mining. Since the CVMR Congressional briefing held on June 8, 2022 in Washington, D.C., on critical mineral, to which the Ambassador Touré has committed to organize business visits to Cote d'Ivoire, he has been working harder to make sure that CVR connect with Cote d'Ivoire. He stands ready to support any other company from Texas willing to explore business opportunities in Cote d'Ivoire. So to summarize, I would say, dear Team CVR, Cote d'Ivoire waiting for you. Thank you.
And now, Judge, Mayor, Congressman, Congresswoman, I'm here to introduce the man who has a vision, who has made a critical minerals as the way of transforming not only Canada, but Turkey, China, Russia. Thank God that we have to stop him from being in the Russia game. But Kevin, when I saw Kevin in Washington on the congressional briefing, I told him, Kevin, you have stolen the idea and the vision that Houston used to put together to steal from other cities. When I deputize every Houstonian as an ambassador of Houston, I think you can do the same thing right here in Amarillo. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further, let me welcome the visionary, the man who has made a difference when it comes to development of critical minerals. Cameron Kozan is the man who has the vision, who has the appetite, who has the anointing, and who has the change and international view when it comes to critical minerals. Because of him, we are bipartisan in the United States Senate and now in the United States House of Representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome my friend, Cameron Kozan.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. It was very nice of you to welcome me. Excuse me. I have to look at my notes so I remember what the hell I have to say. It is indeed an honor for all of us CVMR team to be here. Your presence honors us. Thank you for being here. Mayor Ginger Nelson, your council members, Judge Tanner, and of course, Kevin, who brought all his executives to Washington, D.C. to support us in our congressional briefing. We were quite impressed with your presentation. Thank you very much. Of course, none of this would have happened and would not have been possible without support and encouragement of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Over the years, I have come to learn that Congresswoman is a force of nature. When she sets her mind, no obstacle can prevent her from doing what she wants to do. Congresswoman, CVMR is indebted to you. Thank you. Thank you very much for your support. Congressman Ronnie Jackson, thank you for being here. We also thank you for your support. Your presence here has made this a bipartisan event for us, and that's very important. You served the Navy, and now you're serving in the Congress. Sir, I just want you to remember, the Navy is one of our biggest clients. One of our board members, his name is John Wagoner, was a naval officer. You might be interested to know that John negotiated contracts for the acquisition of Navy reactor cores, including the first two reactors in Nimitz and Eisenhower, Class 688 nuclear submarines, and the first Trident submarine cores. Unfortunately, John is like me. He's an old man, and he's suffering from severe arthritis. Otherwise, he would have been here personally to shake your hand and thank you for your support. I want you to know that he is, hopefully, will be able to meet you soon when he comes to Amarillo. Please let me introduce some of the members of CVMR, the executive members of CVMR who are here today. Chris Wilmot, who has disappeared on us, is a senior advisor to CVMR. Michael Hargett, sitting here in front next to Judge Tanner, has been with CVMR for 32 years. Michael is the president of CVMR USA, which happens to be the holding company for all our corporations in the United States. If you have any scientific questions today, ask him. Ignore me, please. Michael, for the last 32 years, has been trying to wrestle huge amounts of nickel that Department of Energy has in big barrel-looking nuggets sitting in, used to be 16 different cities and now in 3 main cities, in Tennessee and in Kentucky and other places. Unfortunately, the Department of Energy has put a moratorium on those. We can decontaminate those metals and give it back to the government or sell it to the public and keep the nasty materials with the Department of Energy so they can recycle it. Unfortunately, somehow the bureaucracy has prevented us to do this for the last 32 years. And Michael is the champion, has not given up for 32 years pushing this. In fact, we set up a shop in Oak Ridge, was it, Michael? To do this. And then the Department of Energy changed its mind, and we had to leave. So I'm glad we're here rather than Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge has lost a bit of information, potential economic growth, and their nose might be a little bit out of joint. The man I love, I don't know where he is. I respect and I rely on Chip. Where is Chip? He has disappeared as well. My executives keep disappearing on me. Chip is the backbone of CVMR, especially here in Texas. I rely on him quite a bit. Wherever I am in the world and wherever he is, we talk to each other at least minimum 3 times a day, every day. He has great experience in mining from DRC, Congo, to Mexico, and has provided oversight and functions of a number of multi-billion-dollar projects that we have managed around the world. He is in charge of strategy and the strategic planning of CVMR, and he's the supreme troubleshooter for us. But as you all know, behind every successful man, there is a much smarter woman with a cattle prod. And that happens to be sitting here, thank God. Brittany Freeman Bayliss is the person that keeps prodding Chip forward. She is, in her own right, head of administration for CVMR, and I recognize that she's a budding architect. Rick Adams, where are you, Rick? Is our chief financial officer, and most of you in the county and the city know him because he represented CVMR during the negotiations. He has about 30 years of experience in finance and capital markets, especially in U.S. energy markets. Evan Palmer, hiding behind the congressman, is our vice president of business development, who's been working with Chip hand in hand for almost 20 years. He's a pilot. He served in the military. He's an expert in logistics. And the next person I have to mention is Robert Yoder. Robert is here? No? Back there. He has a vital role for our organization. He's our director in charge of logistics and supply chain. Robert is also director of Grupo Logistico in our Mexican operation. And to his credit, he has 2 gorgeous children that we all adore. David Bell is one of the most talented graphic artists, brand development experts, and member of the board of a company that we have as a subsidiary of CVMR called Satellite Imaging Company. David he's the head of our marketing and promotion for the group of CVMR. Caleb Poole, a man that hails from Amarillo, and everybody in this room knows him. He's the latest addition to our executive team. Caleb has served over 9 years as district representative of Congressman Mac Thornberry, who retired in January 2021, I think. Caleb is our government relations and manager in charge of project coordination. There are three individuals that we are indebted to that are here tonight: Tom Ladd, Jason Dial, and John Greer. Without their advice, without their involvement, we would have been far behind. And Tom, thank you very much for that gorgeous dinner that you gave us last night. I cannot see him where he is. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Docteur Naderi, cher docteur, merci beaucoup. Par votre patience, merci pour votre support et coopération. Malheureusement, je ne parle pas français bien. I'm quite conscious of the fact that I'm talking to a sophisticated audience and you know a lot about what we do. I'm reminded of President Reagan, who was quite fond of telling Russian jokes. He actually collected a lot of Russian jokes. One of the jokes that President Reagan was fond of telling was the fact that if you wanted to buy a car in Russia, you had to put up the money up front and wait a long time for the car to be delivered to you. A buyer, according to President Reagan, goes to a dealership in Moscow, puts all the money down, signs all the papers, and the salesman tells him, okay, everything's fine. Come back in 10 years' time and collect your car. And the fellow says, in the morning or in the afternoon? And the salesman is surprised. He says, what difference does it make 10 years from now? He says, it's just that in the morning the plumber is coming. If you've tried to buy a car recently, this joke might resonate with you. You cannot buy a car immediately anymore because some of the parts are missing, some of the parts have a long gestation period to get to us. This is just a little symbol of what we are suffering today due to lack of these minerals. Mining is a $3 trillion industry. There are only 5 major corporations in this world that dominate this industry. They were all established in 19th and turn of the century, 20th century. And every single one of them, without exception, has a legacy of polluting wherever they operate, without exception. And they continue to do that. They don't do this intentionally. It's because of the processes they use for refining, for mining, that leaves this legacy behind. Mining is quite an involved industry. So, for instance, for us to do a mining operation in Côte d'Ivoire or in Congo, first we have to go to NASA and get their satellite images of the area that we're interested in. Then we have to translate that data into a map. So you get zeros and ones, and you'd have to bring that into a map. Then you have to color artificially that map, so different colors indicate where the different metals might be. After that, you have to get a drone to fly a little bit closer to the ground. And after that, if everything goes well, you send a geologist with a pickaxe to go and grab some samples and bring it home so you can test it. If that goes well, then you bring your drilling equipment and you develop a chart on top of this property. Every 50 yards, you have to drill a hole. And each hole has to have 3 different lengths. You take these cores out, you mix half of them to get an average of the property that you have. And the other half you keep to know where the rich ore is and where the poorer ores are. This is just the beginning of mining. By now, you have lost maybe about $30 to $100 million in just doing this. Now you have to write a report that is acceptable to the financial community. Rick Adams has to read it and like it. These are called international standards, NI 43-101 or JORG report and all these very convoluted names. And they are this thick, and the bank managers never read it. They just look at the stamp in front to see which auditor signed this and accepted it. And if they aim to give you the money, billions of dollars, now you can start mining. And that's just the beginning of the story. You take the ore, and now you have to refine it. Otherwise, you cannot use anything. Now, there are three major refining operations in the world today. The first one is called hydrometallurgy, or acid leach, and the name says it all. You pour lots of acid on the ore. It precipitates the metal that you want. You put it in a massive dryer the size of a jumbo jet. You dry that. Meanwhile, the acid vapors go out in the atmosphere, and the tailings, the leftovers, the waste, is full of acid. You throw it out into wherever the mine is. The second one is a little bit more sophisticated, but much more inefficient. It's called smelting, and the word smelting has become synonymous with mining and operating refineries. This one melts the metal, so it has a lot of chimneys, uses a lot of energies, and is quite inefficient and makes a lot of noise. The third one that we use at CVMR is called vapor metallurgy. It's a chemical reaction. We don't use water. There are no chimneys, and we do not use acids. We concentrate, especially certain rare earth elements that are magnetic. Nickel is magnetic, cobalt is magnetic, iron is magnetic. So we separate these, we concentrate the ore by a magnetic separation. Then that separated stuff, that concentrate, we bring into our refinery here in Amarillo, and we pass certain gases over that concentrate depending on what metal we want. Different gases react with the atom of the metal you want and lift it into a vapor. Now, this vapor has molecules of the metal you want, almost 100% pure, which is almost impossible in any other industry to get. It's 99.9999% pure. You push this vapor into another chamber, you put some pressure and some heat on it, and now you have 52 different kinds of things that you can make out of this. Powders, nanopowders, coatings, you name it. If you like to be more sophisticated, you can mix these vapors and make super alloys with them. And nothing gets out. It's hermetically sealed. All the gases that we use are recycled. So you don't have to use those chemicals too much. You just have enough, and it keeps recycling. This is what we do. And this is what we hope to do here in Amarillo. Now, if you use electric cars, if you're using EV battery manufacturers and you deal with them, and those of us who are proud for driving electric cars, and we think we are environmentally conscious and we contribute to the environment's health, remember what I just told you today. Look at upstream. All the dirt, all the pollution, everything else comes from those guys. By the time it gets to a car that you drive proudly thinking that you are doing something right, you miss the point. The pollution has already happened. So I think overall, we should be a little bit conscious of where our batteries come from, where our cars come from, where all these gadgets come from, what takes place before we get our hands on them. The other thing is that if you listen to the media today, you almost believe that batteries generate electricity. Batteries generate power. They don't. We all know that. But we forget. Batteries store electricity, and then they give it to you when you want to use it. Electricity comes from somewhere else, from consumption of oil, gas, solar, wind, and some nuclear energy. There are about 50 critical metals, according to the U.S. Geological Survey issued in February of this year. Intel says that there are only 25 refineries in the biggest, strongest economy in the world here in the United States. Only 25 refineries. Out of those 25 refineries, 13 of them deal with gold and silver. They're not critical metals. They're precious metals. They have a little bit of industrial use, not much. So the rest, there are some tin refineries and a couple of copper refineries. That's it. None of the critical metals in the world are refined here today in the United States. Most of it is done in China. 3 of those Chinese refineries belong to CVMR, unfortunately, to my chagrin. And we lost $300 million recently because we were not very friendly with those guys. The good thing was we sued the companies, and they're government-owned, by the way, and the president and the chairman of one of the subsidiaries is now sitting in jail for life. So we give a little bit of credit to the Chinese court system and how they manage this. But it didn't get us our money back. We still are owed $300 million. Let me tell you a little bit about China. China has millions, thousands, I'm exaggerating, thousands of refineries. And they dominate the world in refining metals. When they get their hands on the minerals, they go, right now, today, they are in 75 different countries. They go in with this contraption they've put together since year 2001 called Belt and Roads. They go to these countries that have mineral resources, but they are third world countries, they are poor, they don't have the infrastructure. So they go and say, well, we can build you highways, we can build you roads, we can build you whatever you need. Look at Sri Lanka. They built a massive port facilities. And then the country ends up owing them the money, and the country cannot pay them back. And as a result, they can create something tantamount to a monopsonistic endeavor where they are the only buyer. They can dictate what the price of those minerals are and buy it cheap. On the other hand, when they come to the United States to sell their refined products, there are not many sellers. There are very few in the world. I told you there are 5 companies that are very old, plus all the minerals that are in China. And they practice something called oligopolistic marketing, which means they are the biggest seller in the market. They can manipulate what the price is. So at one end, they buy cheap, and the other end sell as expensively as possible. And that doesn't end there. They manipulate the market. They have a stranglehold over the market's fluctuations and pricing and the way commodities work. And that is done through an institution that is as old as 1571 in London, England. It's called London Metal Exchange. What you guys don't know is London Metal Exchange, although it sits at the center of UK, is Chinese owned as of 2012. And they have the majority rules, and an exchange in Hong Kong purchased it, and they manipulate the market. And right now, there are two major corporations that are suing London Metal Exchange for up to $600 million, and there are more companies about to sue them. They've lost the trust of the market. They manipulate the market. And if you read these kinds of news, about a month ago, they shut down the trading for nickel for 3 days. Billions of dollars were lost because of it, because of a miscalculation in the Chinese government with the price of nickel and the future of nickel prices. The problem is, in the United States, we have Chicago and New York exchanges, commodity exchanges, that are much bigger than London Metal Exchange, 1,000 times bigger. They do trade in metals, but they don't have the elan that London Metal Exchange has. And if you want to quote the price of a metal, you go to London and use their system. Now, tonight, given the fact that we've been welcomed so nicely by you, and the fact that we have two representatives of the government sitting here, I would like to make 3 proposals to you. My first proposal is, let's create a Texas Metal Exchange in Amarillo. Okay? Nothing stops us from doing that. Texas already has a sample of that for oil. You have an extension from the New York Commodity Exchange in Texas that handles oil for you. Why not metals? We are capitalists. We believe in competition. Let's set up Texas Metal Exchange and let us compete with London Metal Exchange and see who does better. We are here. If such a thing happens, with the help of our Congress people here, I pledge for you tonight that CVMR will give the clearinghouse first right of refusal for all our elements. And we take any surplus value that they might have that they cannot get rid of. We take it on, whether it's refined or concentrated. This should make a major dent in what we're talking about, not just refining and selling refined metals to the community, but also trading it at the international level, right here in Texas. Amarillo is important for many reasons. You have the best railway system. Watco is here. Any representatives of Watco? Yes. So you have the railway. You have the port facilities next to where the Congress lady lives, and one of the best port facilities in the world. We can bring this stuff here. We have lots of land, and our airports are ready for growth. This is a place where we can do this. London is congested. The railway system, the airport system, and London doesn't have any land to expand. More importantly, the darn thing is owned by the Chinese. So I think we have a major advantage, and there is a window of opportunity today that LME is on its knees if we hit them and hit them hard as soon as possible. They might never get up again. And I'm willing to do that with whoever volunteers to help us pull this off. It requires government involvement. It requires legislation, maybe, maybe not. But I'm sure if we approach one of the exchanges in Chicago or New York, they will be delighted to set this up. I'm sure of that. I know who I'm talking about and who they are. Now, the advantages we have over and above what I'm telling you is something called creative destruction. America happens to have the highest degree of creative destruction. It's a concept that was created by a Austrian professor that became a professor here at Harvard University. His name is Joseph Schumpeter. I quote from his book. It's the creative destruction is the process of industrial mutation that incessantly revolutionizes the economic structure from within, incessantly destroying the old ones and incessantly creating new ones. Just look, computers replace typewriters. Mobile phone, now you have smartphones. Oh, God bless you, I have two of them here.
Oh, okay.
Think of the music you hear, from those discs we used to buy to all the tapes that we used to have, and now the streaming that we do. These are called creative destruction. Every 6 months, you see on television people lining up to buy a new Apple phone. Not because they need it. It's just in our culture here to go with the new one. It's better than the old one. Get rid of the old one. Go for the new one. Now, this is not something that the Americans boast about. Other nationalities have recognized this. I give you 3 major examples. You can check that on the internet. Professor Quette de Vries, who was my professor, by the way, at INSEAD in France. Henry Mintzberg from McGill University in Montreal. Yuval Harari from Hebrew University in Tel Aviv, in Israel. They all say the same thing. Americans have the highest degree of creative destruction. I have a personal experience of this. Many moons ago, 1982, I established a company in Japan called Bushido Technologies. 2 branches, one in Tokyo and one in Osaka. And my idea was to look at new inventions that were coming out of Japan before they become commercialized. I wanted to grab hold of them and commercialize them, with the inventor involved, of course. It took me 2 years to realize all the inventions were coming from here. The Japanese were just perfecting it, miniaturizing it, developing it, manufacturing it, but they were not inventing. All the invention came from North America. So now I still have those companies, but I've reversed the trend. I commercialize American inventions in the Far East, and it's working quite well. Now, my second proposal to you is this. If we try to do this, I think we should set up a center for research and development in vapor metallurgy in cooperation with West Texas A&M. And we can develop a huge field of operations and research and development at the university. The best example I can give you is Siemens of Germany. You've heard of Siemens? Was a tiny little engineer called Mr. Siemens, who in his backyard tried to do this in 1888. And he got some money from Kaiser Wilhelm, a small amount of money. He wanted to improve telegram, and he did. And in 19th century, the word Siemens actually means reciprocal ohm, which is the measure of how a material is able to conduct electricity. Siemens today is one of the largest technical operations in millions of different fields all over the world. And it has started with just one R&D center with a bit of government help. And my last word for you is if this development starts, if we have R&D center here, let's look at the most important elements you have in Texas: oil, gas, wind. Selling oil today at $5 a gallon gas for the car is a waste of precious mineral. We can do much better than that with oil. You can have a petrochemical industry. I won't bore you too much because they're signaling me I'm running out of time here. So I'll shut it down quickly. There are two elements that are missing from the critical elements. Please remember this. Sooner or later, we have to go nuclear. We have to use nuclear energy, whether we like it or not. It's a given. And the two elements you need for that are uranium and boron. None of them are in the critical metals today because they're not critical today. But if we are looking at the future, we better include that in the metal exchange that we are talking about in Texas. I shut up, but let me just leave you with one thought. A pickup truck filled with fusion fuel has equivalent energy of 2 million metric tons of coal and 10 million barrels of oil. And that statistics comes from the Department of Energy, United States. That's how important this is. And if we ignore it, we've ignored it to our own peril. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have too many of these.
You got too many. I got one going. Thank you, Cameron. I would be remiss if I didn't thank a couple of other people. Got a couple of AEDC board members here today, and I would certainly like to introduce Scott Bentley, our chair, and Laura Street, who's on our board. Thank you for being here. And then also I would like to thank my team here today, the AEDC team. I've got several members in the back, if they'll just wave. And so appreciate them being here and working on this project together. And so also to Consulate General, thank you for being here. It was very nice meeting you in Washington, D.C., and welcome to Amarillo. Congresswoman Jackson Lee, appreciate you being here. And Congressman Jackson, Ronnie, thanks for being here. Appreciate that. We do have some refreshments in the back, and we would love for that to happen. And so, is this my note? Do I need a?
Yeah, those are names I should have mentioned.
Okay.
They kicked me out.
Okay. We have some members of some of the construction group, New Life Construction, Flare X LLC, Two Fish Technologies, Hawkshaw Productions, the CVMR team, if you're one of those. And then also I'd be remiss if I didn't mention BNSF Railway, who is going to be part of the partner with Watco. And so if you're one of those groups, if you'll just raise your hand. Appreciate y'all being here today. Okay, we would like to consider this the official groundbreaking of the critical mineral refining facility in Amarillo, Texas. The mayor mentioned that, it's tough to find shoes. Well, Cameron and Chris and I were worried about our hair blowing away today. And so we're glad we're having it up here in the cool air. So anyway, thank y'all for being here. Like I said, refreshments in the back, and I appreciate everyone being here today. What a historic day for Amarillo, and what a beginning. Big thanks to Cameron and his team for being here and choosing Amarillo. So thank you.